Today we are going to talk about two neighbors who have fought the war of freedom together, not once but twice. They have shared culture, they have shared rivers, and they have shared geography. But their relationship is in the time of stress test because of politics, because of internal changes, and also geopolitical upheaval. I am talking about, without any surprise, about India and Bangladesh. But when we are talking about India-Bangladesh strained relationship, there is a new ray of hope when we see that finally Bangladesh elections have resulted and BNP has come with a victory. And this ray of hope is not just through that victory, it is also through the reach out that India has done from its end to ensure that the closest neighbors who were considered a model of neighborhood policy cooperation in South Asia can get back together. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are not going to look into just that how this can be mended. We will be starting from scratch and understanding that what went wrong and where it can ultimately end up to. So when we are talking about the present time, the first thing that we need to discuss is exactly that where at this point of time India and Bangladesh's relations are. How do they look like? And for that we have to start with recognition of the fact that India and Bangladesh have had strained relationship in recent times. And this especially happened because of the political transition that began last year in Bangladesh. The diplomatic warmth that existed between both of the countries, that faded away. Anti-India protests started gaining momentum in Bangladesh. Hindu minorities were being targeted and Bangladesh opened up its yards to all adversaries that Bangladesh and India were standing together against, be it Pakistan, be it US, be it China, be it Turkey and others. And when finally this political internal chaos in Bangladesh has gone through it and finally elections have been conducted where BNP and Tahir Rahman came out victorious, India was quick with the diplomatic response, showing that we are eager, we are still there and we would want to get back because this is not just important for India but for Bangladesh as well. Because Bangladesh happens to be India's most important eastern strategic partner, eastern neighbor, and stability in Bangladesh affects India's not only security but also trade and strategic aspects. Now on this note, when we understand that as of now the only thing that has been done has been a diplomatic reach out, we need to go back to understanding that what were the things that went wrong between these countries. So we will be talking about two aspects here that what went wrong. So first thing we'll be talking about is the immediate triggers in the last year, and then we will be moving on to the structurally things that have been not very well placed between India and Bangladesh. So in the context of immediate triggers, it all started with collapse of Awami League, intense youth protest, and then the former Awami League head Sheikh Hasina taking refuge, asylum in India. Now imagine Bangladesh's people angry against the elite politicians and that politician enters our country. So those bunch of people, that population is against India. Now later this anti-India feeling was further fueled because all these protesting groups said that India supported the accused previous regime and gradually all those sentiments strengthened. And then came the death of Bangladeshi student leader, which fueled the fire to an extent where there was no way out. We had to shut off the diplomatic missions, we had to put on hold many other things, and in recent times we have been seeing killing and targeting of Hindu minorities as well. And the interim government that came under Muhammad Yunus did not only use this narrative to their advantage, they were the ones behind the increase in diplomatic tensions and the refuge and the attention given to other players which I was mentioning earlier. So all in all, when we are talking about immediate triggers, there were many. But when we look behind it and we talk about the structural triggers, they were also immense. Because for the longest time, India has been labeled as the regional giant and India has behaved so as well. But when we are talking about Bangladesh, which is a smaller neighbor, it has always been in the fear that all the small states fear that if we will be excessively dependent only on India, then we will be dominated by them. Now, this was the structural asymmetry that we have seen for long. But in recent times, the sovereignty sensitivity, they were also heightened. Bangladesh historically has been protective of its independent identity. They have been on their own, they have been saying that for long. And they did not want to be associated with any external influence. But in this context, when again and again the political setup has been associated with India, India has been labeled for the partisan influence, the media influence and the regional giant influence, Bangladesh grew gradually apart. And then we had other factors such as the domestic political incentive. Political parties have used India as narrative. But apart from that, we also have issues like Teesta water dispute, which India, because of federal reasons, couldn't have resolved. Other than that, we also get to see the infra projects. India has been late in delivery. So, all this also shapes up this anti-India rhetoric and this has been used as a tool for mobilization. So, yes, immediate triggers, yes they were, but the tension did exist and it existed on the asymmetry that I have talked about in terms of structure itself. Now, all of this, as I have been explaining, that it has worsened to the newest low that we have seen in terms of India-Bangladesh relationship. And now when we are in a place where we have to mend it, we need to know why Bangladesh is important. Because as of now, Bangladesh stands as one of the top textile exporters and it is ready for the strategic shift with multi-alignment diplomacy. If you want to read this multi-alignment diplomacy, you can also read it as moving away and being independent of India diplomacy. Because Bangladesh is moving towards balancing multiple powers and the last 1 year, it has used the distance from India to do so. It has avoided the dependence on India, it has gained maximum economic benefits. A very good example is the US-Bangladesh deal that has been signed, where Bangladesh is going to enjoy 0% tariffs as compared to 18% for India. And it has better bargaining power internationally. Other than that, Bangladesh is also very much interested in external partnership logic, where they are getting benefits, different benefits for different partners. For example, China for infrastructure and finance. India, they will be associated for geography and trade. They don't want to just isolate themselves here. West for export markets. Gulf for investment. That means Bangladesh is onto a diversification strategy which is not just out of need, it is with a long-term vision. And this what is unfolding. Apart from the political chaos, we have to constantly keep in mind this is something that India needs to manage on its own end, because so many players entering India's own backyard isn't a good news for India itself. And that is why the situation is very serious for us. It is serious because the proximity of Bangladesh to Siliguri corridor. It is serious because we have northeastern states bounding that and the only gateway is the Siliguri corridor. Not only that, it provides the shortest land routes for connectivity and we have many projects going on. Can you tell me in the comment section which projects are going on? Then we have multiple Bay of Bengal sea lanes which are located near West Bengal, which is located near Bangladesh, and Bangladesh happens to be India's largest regional export markets as well. So if our ties further worsen, we are going to put all of this at exposure as well. There will be a probability of strategic isolation of Northeast, there will be increased Chinese influence, and we will be vulnerable in terms of security. So I think this has given reason enough to explain that why there was a diplomatic outreach immediately by India as soon as the BNP government was declared victorious. Because we want to mend the ties. We want to ensure that we go back to our neighborhood ties that we enjoyed 3 years back. Because it is an important point, it is a fulcrum in India's neighborhood first policy, where as of now, except for Bhutan, we do not see that neighbors are seeing the same way that we are. Now this is where comes in the main part once we have understood the background, that why this point becomes a ray of hope as soon as the reins have been handed over to BNP. There are multiple reasons to believe so, because the new leadership that is coming, that is not biased from the past. So that is not also linked to the past disputes. So that means that will give a fresh start to India-Bangladesh ties. Other than that, when we are talking about inclusive governance, which has been another issue between India and Bangladesh, especially when we are talking about Hindu minorities, there has been an exclusive assurance, publicly it has been emphasized by BNP, that there will be inclusive governance. Other than that, avoided aggressive anti-India rhetoric. Rather, when we are looking at other parties, how they have emphasized so much on anti-India movement, anti-India narratives, BNP has remained comparatively on the sidelines, especially on the anti-India rhetoric. And this is when comes in the diplomatic goodwill signal from India's end, where it opened an opportunity to rebuild the trust without historical baggage. So that means both sides are politically motivated to reset ties, because both of them are set to gain with better ties present. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be leaving you here with a practice question. You can put down your answers in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.